So I'm just going to do some sandblasting. I want to, these torsion arms, I'm going to sandblast them. I'm going to do it while the old ball joint's in place before I push it out. I'm not going to be real careful around this part because that's all machined. But this part on the outside here that's exposed, I'm going to sandblast it, get it ready for painting because I want to paint these, prime them and paint. And I'm also going to do some of the steering components as well, just to kind of get the surface rust off and get them ready to maybe paint them. So I don't have a sandblasting cabinet, I'm just doing it in the garage. All I got is this Mastercraft sandblaster here. This was on sale for like 25 bucks, and I bought a bag of sand at Tractor Supply for like 15 bucks. And just starting now, so we're going to see how this turns out. So this is the end result. Not perfect, but I'm going to put some rust converter on this, and I think it'll be good to paint. Still working on getting all the grime off this steering box. Just all these little cracks and nooks were just caked full of like grit and dirt. And I hit it with a sandblaster, and then I degreased it. You know, I'm just going at it over and over again, and just more and more grease is coming off. So I don't know what I'm going to do if I get this down to bare metal, if I'm going to paint it or what, but we will see. Slow process, really tedious, but the beam, I've been working on this, just hit it with a wire wheel and then a scouring pad. Got all the major surface rust off of it, and now I've got some rust converter on it, just to prep it for paint. The same as these parts back here. This is some front end stuff, some linkage for the steering, the transmission cradle. Same thing. I hit all that with a wire wheel, and then rust converter. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to prime this stuff. I'm gonna work on these forks. I'm gonna trim away where the plasma cutter. My plasma cutter is a piece of crap. I think it needs a new nozzle. I wasn't working very good, but there was really nothing, no other tool I could use to cut this out. So I'm going to clean it up, a nice smooth clean edge. I'm going to take all the rust off of this, and same thing, I'm going to hit it with rust converter and prime it. I'm not ready to use these just yet, but if they have primer on them, they're going to be good. Okay, this is where I'm at with the frame head. It's this part up in here that's giving me problems for the fit. Also, I realized this part that comes down and is 2 layers, I think the bottom layer, it's really hard to see, but there's actually 2 layers of steel there, and it's plug welded all along here. What that was is the top part of the frame head, and then the bottom part, this part right here. So it's kind of causing an issue with clearance. So what I've decided to do is I'm actually going to cut it away and clean it all up, and that way I'll have it'll be easier to measure from the center. I'm going to take measurements from the center coming down on both sides, and I'll be able to get this plate level. At least that's the plan. I'm kind of jumping the gun here, actually. I should actually finish this part here too, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so I'm just test fitting everything here, and I bought these sheet metal parts, this bottom plate here for the frame head and the Napoleon hat firewall piece, and I'm just kind of test fitting it. Everything seems to be okay. This bottom plate seems like it's a little too long, but I think I can make some adjustments up on the front. The Napoleon hat fits on there, and I've got it pretty much lined up. Got a kind of a center line, and I can see where the old one was, the grind marks from the old one, so it's in the right position, and it all looked good. And then I thought, well, I'll put the pedal cluster on just to see how the brake pedal lines up, and it's hard to see, but to me it's out of position. The hole here that the master cylinder bolts into is too far out. It has to be a little bit further in to line up with this linkage here. So, and I brought the old piece out, and you can just see the remnants of a hole there, just the top part of the hole, and I kind of lined it up here, and it does look like it's out maybe a ½ inch too far. So, I mean, these are parts for like Karmann Ghia, Beetle, you know, so they're clearly not 100% compatible with the thing. I bought them to try to save time, and it looks like it's actually not going to save me time. It probably would have been just as easy to fabricate everything from scratch at this point, considering I'm going to have to monkey around with this and adjust it, and I have to do something about shortening this plate to get it to fit right. It's a good song. Too bad YouTube keeps banning my videos because I have the radio playing in the background. So I gotta keep the radio under check. Apparently the radio playing in the background is a copyright infringement. Okay, so I had the genius idea of actually bolting this up, and it creates a kind of a sandwich effect and kind of holds it in place, which is helping immensely, because now, before I was trying to like hold it with one hand and fit it and figure out where I'm having problems, and yeah, we're good now. Might have to grind just a tad off here. I feel like it's kind of gonna get in the way when I pull it up. I think I gotta maybe touch a little bit out of there. Other side looks good, except it's getting forced down here. And I think I'm gonna trim this, because what's happened is, originally when this is built, these pieces are sandwiched together and spot welded in place. Well, I've been grinding for like an hour and a half trying to get this to be just one layer of steel and get it in the right shape. It's just not going to happen. So as long as the firewall's in the right position and this is close, I think we're going to call it a day. I mean, this looks to me like it needs to curve a bit more, right? But there's a lot of material there that I'm not able to. It's just so hard to grind that. So I got to patch this hole from the inside, and because it needs to be flush to allow the beam to sit in there. And I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna start, when I get this fit in the right position, I'm gonna actually tack it in place, because I need to put a plate in here, and it would be better if it all tied together. And then I need to replicate this kind of raised area on this side. That's it. You know, the only thing here I'm noticing that's a little dodgy is the way this corner. This would have been flared out, and it doesn't match, so I'm going to have to fill this gap. This whole edge here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing I did over here. I'm just going to take a piece of angle iron and set it on there, and I'll have 2 edges to make nice beads for the weld. Here I'm going to just use the plate that's in place and just tack it along the edge. The back side, what I've realized is this is slightly higher than the line that I came up with for my floor pans, which these are little things that I knew would happen. I'm just going to have to make a judgment call, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this flush all along here. That'll allow me to do use the same technique with the angle iron, and you can see how it's about a ½ an inch out. I'll be able to drop that level down, and then the floor pan will fit right in there. So that's fine. I mean, I'm only out ½ an inch, you know, maybe less, and that's just, I was guesstimating. Really, that was so much damage along here. I just had to make my you know, best guess of where those floor pans would be sitting. So I am hoping that this front end is done by the end of the weekend. We will see. So I could sit here for the next 3 days trying to figure out if this is good and lined up, but at some point you just gotta go for it. So I measured these corners from here to the back there, 67 inches, might be out a 1/16. I'm going to start tacking it in place and then working on this front section.